thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to visit briefly with you this morning. I would like to start off by saying, first of all, how much we appreciate the time and effort that all of you spend on the budget process. I will have to say that I agree with my friend from Texas that I believe also that the budget process is broken, and I genuinely believe that one of the reasons that Congress has such a low approval rating is that many people across America perceive that if Congress cannot do its most basic task of adopting a budget, then that contributes to the impression that this is an ineffective body. And I went back and I looked at the history of the budget process in U.S. Congress, and of course back in 1921 it was the first year that the President started submitting a budget to Congress, and we went through that process from 21 to 74. And the Congress would work with the President's budget, and then of course in 74 we passed the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act. And since that time, Congress has only met the deadline for passing a budget resolution 6 times since 1974. Congress did not adopt any budget resolution for 6 fiscal years, 99, 203, 205, 207, 211, and 212. Now, the process that I think contributes to the feeling of the American people that Congress is so ineffective is that more and more the budget debate and the budget process has become so partisan because we use the budget to highlight philosophical differences on primarily these big mandatory spending areas, which obviously is where we have our problem. But many people, when a budget does pass, they assume that all of the cuts or reductions or changes are automatically taking effect, even though everyone recognizes that the authorizing committees have to come back and make those changes. But the reason, when I go to Civic Club meetings, people frequently, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this too, they ask you, why is it that Congress can't even pass a budget? Well, probably they don't really understand it, but I think to get to the bottom line here is the current process, in my view, is not working very well. And I think it's factually correct, because when you say that Congress has only met the deadline 6 times since 74, that Congress has not even passed a budget at all for 6 years. And I think you would agree with me that the entire Congress becomes so consumed with this process each year that it interferes with our ability to authorize, do oversight, and everything else. So my point is, even back in 1995, the GAO did a study of the history and future direction of the budget process, and even at that time was pointing out the great difficulties that we face. That's why many of us, way back in 1999, suggested that maybe one way that it could improve the process is go to a 2-year budget cycle. And I had been told that every president since Ronald Reagan, I can't speak emphatically that President Obama supports this, but I've heard that he's not opposed to it, would support a 2-year budget process, so that 1 year Congress could be totally consumed by the budget. The next year they could do the authorizing, the oversight, and so forth. And but back in '99, we brought a budget resolution to the floor to go to a 2-year budget cycle. It was defeated on the House floor by 8 or 9 votes. Even the chairman of the Appropriation Committee voted for it. And of course, Senator Pete Domenici of New Mexico was one of the leaders. But I would just say, as one member speaking for my little group of constituents in Kentucky, 700,000 of them, it has been my experience that the budget process, the confusion, the chaos of the budget process, the lack of accomplishment of the budget process has contributed greatly to the impression of the American people that the U.S. Congress as an institution is not very effective. And it's not your all's individual fault. I think it's all of our faults, and I simply wanted to make that comment just out of a sense of frustration that I've had, but once again, want to thank you all personally for your efforts and what you continue to do. Thank you.